Hello CivOps friends, welcome back to another episode of CivOps Gear, reviewing all the EDC gear for everyone from the civilian to the operator. Today we are looking at a new knife that just came in from BladeHQ. They were running a daily deal on the DPX Gear Hest 3.0 Decade with blasted titanium scales, and this is a very, very, very cool knife. In fact, this is really more of a tool than just a knife. Interesting, it actually has a bottle opener right in the spine of the knife, and look at the thick blade stock on this. This is very, very thick, and especially for a knife where the blade's only really 3¼ inches, that's very, very thick spine. Very aggressive jimping up on top on the thumb ramp, and what a fantastic knife. What a great action. I'm loving the pocket clip with the little glass breaker tip. This is not a review. We're going to take it apart, and the reason we're going to take it apart, let's see if you can possibly hear the issue that I'm having with it. I'm going to hold this close to the microphone for a second, but when I close the blade, it sounds like there is, and I don't think there is sand, but it sounds like there is a grinding between the blade and the pivot. It sounds like there's a little sand or something in there. So I'm going to hold this up next to the mic for a second and see if you can hear this. I don't know if you could hear that grinding or not, but there is a definite grinding sound. So I'm very interested in taking this knife apart, as most knives that first come in. I always love to have a look at them. In addition to BladeHQ for running the daily deal, I would like to thank my Patreons for making it possible for me to pick this up. However, I don't have any Patreons. So in place of that, I would like to, as usual, thank my job for paying me, as well as my girlfriend for leaving me, both of which made it possible for me to pick this up. And so with that said, we're going to go ahead and take this bad boy apart. Let's see, the action out is lovely. It's got a pretty good drop shut ability. It doesn't drop all the way shut on its own, but maybe it will after we work out that, whatever is that grinding noise going on in there. So let's go ahead and figure out how exactly we want to take this bad boy apart. Let's see. It looks like everything unscrews on the show side. So we have a pivot and 3 body screws, none of which unscrew on the rear side. Looks like they may either go all the way through. Looks like they probably go all the way through the back spacer. So what I'm thinking is we probably don't have to take this pocket clip off, although we may want to because it might add a tension. Here's the other interesting thing. These are not actually Torx bits. What I think we need to take this apart is, let's see, we need a 7/64 Allen wrench. So this should come apart with a 7/64 Allen wrench. Yeah, it looks like that's going to be, yeah, okay. So the pivot and all 3 body screws are going to use a 7/64 Allen wrench. So you know what? If we need to take the pocket clip off, we will try to do that later if we need to. Let's go ahead and take this fella apart. And, oh, not used to Allen wrenches anymore. And, boy, I'm having a hard time here. And see what is going on inside this bad boy, this DPX Gear Hest 3.0. Why am I having such a hard time with this Allen wrench? Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and get the pivot out of here. If you are interested in any of the tools that I'm using, you are free to go ahead and use your eyes and watch, because I don't have a website devoted to what tools I'm using. I'm using mostly the same tools everybody uses. Torx bits, nano lube, rubbing alcohol. But in this particular case, I needed a 7/64 Allen wrench. So I am using a 7/64 Allen wrench. And let's see. Okay, there's one. I really like this tool mat that I use because the green squares here are magnetized. And so it gives me an opportunity to not only keep my screws in order that I take them out, but also make sure that they stay exactly where I put them. There's no chance of them rolling off the mat or anything like that. So I'm thinking this DPX Gear knife should, and I'm only guessing here, I'm thinking it should, once all these screws are out, come apart nicely, because I'm guessing that the quality control on these is probably good. Let's see. Are there liners? It doesn't look like there are any liners to speak of. It looks like just these milled titanium scales. So let's see here. Is the pocket clip holding this together at this point? Interesting. Maybe we should try taking the pocket clip off. Although I'm not sure why that would be holding it together. All right, stand by. Let's try taking the pocket clip off. All right, I've got a ratchet here. And let's see. Now, interestingly, this DPX Hest actually comes with another type of screw, which is just flat without the glass breaker tip, so you can put whichever one you want on there. And let's see here. All right, easy enough. Obviously, that's replaceable either side. Now, let's see, what is holding this knife together? Well, it doesn't look like much, actually. We're making some progress prying it apart. Let's see here. What do I have to pry this apart with? Well, let's take this. Yeah, that did it. That'll do it. That'll do it, pig. That'll do. All right. Go ahead and see if we can't get this. Oh, there we go. Making some progress. Come on apart, Mr. Hest. Yeah. Let's see, is there something holding this together that I've missed? No, it looks like it's just those pins and the pivot are very low tolerance. Ah, there we go. All righty. Beautiful. Now there's already some oil in there, but there's a little gook in that pivot. Very interesting. Let's see here. Yeah. So this has ball bearings. Let's see. Ball bearings on one side and a washer on the other side. Is that right? Or am I seeing, no, there's, okay. Interesting. There's our lock bar. Does the pivot not want to push out? Well, we've got ball bearings on that side. And was the pivot on this side? It looked like the pivot was on this side. All right, let's see here. Let's take all of that off. Where was that washer? Because it sure looks like those ball bearings just went right into that groove, just like they do on this side. Right. Let's get our ball bearings off of this side. If we can. There is a lot of oil. I mean, a lot of oil. Looks like there's some grease. All right, how are we going to get these ball bearings off of here? You know, the biggest question is, I don't see a pivot. I mean, I don't see a washer underneath those. So the question then becomes, where did this washer come from? Did it come from this side on top of the ball bearings? Looks like probably it came from right in there. Very interesting. You know, I wonder if, are the ball bearings larger on one side? Yes, they are. All right, very interesting. They're smaller on the inside of the rear side and larger on the inside of the show side. Okay. All right, very interesting. Very interessante. It's making me wonder, actually, if I want to remove all of that oil. You know, I think I do, because something was grindy. Something was definitely grindy. So we can replace all that with sort of a thick, we'll use like an 85 nano lube. But it'll give me a chance to get some alcohol in there on a Q-tip and clean out the pivot hole in this very, very nice M390 blade. All right. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. These are captive ball bearings, of course. So this will give us a chance to clean all of this off. All right. This is my first look inside this knife. And so I am learning as I go. And if any of you have just picked up a DPX Gear Hest and are going through the process that I've gone through, then I hope it's helpful for you to find out that you need a 7/64 Allen wrench, because that took me a little while to figure out what I needed. Why my Torx bits were not working. It's because they're really not Torx screws. All right, let's get this cleaned out. Let's get that cleaned out. Now, like I said, this is pretty much a brand new knife, but you know, the action was grinding, like I told you. And so, you know, I've been wanting for the last couple days since I got this to get it taken apart. And so I'm not going to chicken out now. There's no chickening out in knife cleaning. There's no crying in EDC. Now, if this video ends up being helpful to any of you, if you found it helpful to find out that you needed a 7/64 Allen wrench, go ahead and share this video with your buddies, like a stripper who swears she loves you. Share with your friends. Let's see. And if a stripper ever says she loves you, don't marry her, because she's probably lying. She's probably trying to get you to bankroll her. And because I love you, I'd rather you not. So let's see here. Look at all that. Let's try to get this pivot clean. Very interesting that we can't get this pivot even to budge. Very interesting. But I am going to get it cleaned off regardless. I'm sure we can get the stop pin out. Yeah, stop pin comes out no problem. All right, but that pivot. We'll push our liner in. Oh, very interesting. All right. So we could get this backspacer off, certainly, if we needed to. I don't think we do. I think we're fine leaving it in place. We will, let's see if now we can get those ball bearings off of here. Come on. Come on. There we go. Now, let's see. Is there a washer inside of that? Doesn't look, does it? Does that look like a washer inside there? It might be. Could be. Could also not be. You know, very few things are certain in life. Like, is that a pivot? I mean, is that a washer? Or is it not a washer? Well, it doesn't seem to want to spin, so maybe what we want to do is get a Q-tip on there. Get this liner pushed, this liner lock pushed in. As far as the lock bar insert will let us go with it. There we go. That looks like we've got that pretty much cleaned off. We're going to put some thick oil on that. And we're going to try to get this as cleaned off as we can with the alcohol. Then once it's dry, we're going to blow it off with some compressed air. And we'll see what we can do about that grindy action. I tell you what, I did not like that sandy sound. That was not good, that sandy sound. So we're going to wash these off. Get those ball bearings clean. Always clean your balls, my friends. Got to keep your balls clean. Ball bearings, of course. Get your minds out of the gutter. And we'll clean our washer. Look at that. Much, 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 much prettier. That's much better. And this is a nice washer too. This is not certainly not Teflon, and it's not one of those paper thin bronze washers either. It's a real washer. All right, and lastly, let's get the balls from the rear side cleaned. Dad joke of the day for you while we're cleaning these off. You know the difference between people from Dubai and people from Abu Dhabi? People from Dubai don't like the Flintstones, but people from Abu Dhabi do. Abu Dhabi do. Okay. Listen, don't blame me. I don't write them. I just tell them to you while I'm cleaning ball bearings. Works better when you don't have to explain the jokes, I will admit that. All right, are we good here? I think so. I think so. Let's grab a Q-tip and just a little bit more 99% rubbing alcohol. 99% is the good stuff. 70% is for quitters. And we'll get the inside of this blade pivot hole cleaned out. Yeah, look at that. There's schmutz. There is schmutz for sure. So we'll get that cleaned out. Beauties. All right, let's get this cleaned out. All right, clean. And let's see if there's anything we missed along there we want to get cleaned off. Yep. All right, that looks good. All right, good deal. Now, let's get our 85 thickness nano oil, because there was a lot of oil and lube inside here. There was a lot of texture in here. So, and these are thick, heavy parts. So I'm thinking a thick oil is probably what we want to do here. So, and I'm not sure if you can really over oil here, because there was a lot to begin with in here. Oh, well, I just showed that we can over oil a little bit. You know, sometimes that Nano 85 just shoots out. Shoots out like it's been having phone sex for a couple hours. All right, let's get that. All right, the oil should be kept into that small crevice where the ball bearings are going to go. You should go right in there. I'm going to put a tiny bit more on top where it's going to make contact with the blade. We're going to spin that around just a little bit. Make sure there's plenty of oil and lubrication, not only on the ball bearings, but also on the pivot itself. Make sure the pivot is, and you know what? I'll tell you what, I just want to make sure. Yep, just want to make sure there's any little bits or chunks of anything that I was missing. You see that 85 oil? Just wants to come dripping out like that. So, it's all right. Make sure our pivot's nice and lubey. Make sure the ball bearings are wet. Okay. All right, now we'll just dry off a little bit of this excess. And that's fine. That'll dry itself off. Okay. Now, I'm going to put just, I don't think I want to put 85 on the detent track. Probably just 10. 85 would be a little much for a detent track. So we're going to put just a little bit of light number 10 oil along that track there. Okay, and let's go ahead and put that blade in place on the pivot. And let's make sure we get our stop pin back in. Come here, stop pin. You're gonna go right in there. Good. Let's make sure these are exactly the same size. They look to be. All right. All right, blade is pushed down. So now we want to, I'm gonna put a little bit more oil on this side of the blade. All right, that should be enough. Put our ball bearings on top of there and spin that around. Just a little bit, make sure they all get some oil. Like a good party, everybody gets some oil. Spread it around. Make sure all your friends get some oil. Okay. And we will. Boop. Boop. I'm thinking maybe we put the pivot or the washer right back in there. It's going to pop right out. Okay. No problem. You can go right on there. And boy, am I going crazy with the oil or what? I just feel like every surface touching should have some lube on it. Call me crazy, call me lubey, but that's how I'm feeling. I feel like every surface touching a surface, every surface touching blade or metal should have some lube on it. And I'll tell you what, that grindy sound is gone, at least as of just now. So let's see what happens if we put this pivot screw back in. Let's see what's going to happen here. Always back out a little bit first to make sure you're not cross-threading. And we're not going to tighten down very much right now. I just want to get that screwed in. Now let's go ahead and get our body screws back in. And these are going to screw right back into, these sure look like, I think they're probably Chicago screws that are going through the back spacer, and then these Allen wrench screws screw right into those. All right, that looks to be correct. Felt right. All right, let's get this one in. And, you know, again, I'm not going to tighten down anything too much yet. Just want to get everything in position. Come on. There we go. Just want to get everything in position. And then we'll check our action and our blade play and see, and our centering, of course, and see how we're looking before we tighten everything really, really down. All right. That's in. So we're just going to tighten till they present some resistance. All righty. Now, we're almost centered. Not quite, but we will be when we tighten down. The grindy sound is gone. So that's a beautiful thing. The grindy sound is gone. And let's see if we're going to get our centering back. Now we've got some drop shutability going on. And it looks like we might need to tighten a little bit more. To get our centering back. Still good action, okay. Looking nice and centered there. Let's go ahead and tighten down our body screws. At least tighten them down a little more. Good. 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 Let me see here. It's kind of hard to tell with the light from the camera casting shadows, but it looks like we are centered. And if that's the case, I'm just going to tighten down a little more and see. Yes. Good. Good. Beautiful. Beautiful. I really like how this is constructed, where there's very little space between the scales and the thick stock of the blade. I like that. That's quality precision machining. Going to go ahead and tighten these body screws down using the leverage of the Allen wrench. And that should be good. One more quick action test. We're nicely centered there. Let's check for blade play. You know what? We might be able to tighten that more, which is interesting because it feels tight, but beautiful. Yes. The whole grindy sound is completely gone. And it feels better. It feels like a looser action. It felt, which is interesting because it's, you know, on most knives, the feeling I'm getting on this pivot would make me feel like I've over-tightened, but not here at all. I'm certainly not crushing those ball bearings because the action now is excellent. I'm very nicely centered. Blade play. Forget it. Up and down, not a chance, but side to side, nope. Forget it. Drop shutability all over the place. Loving it. Okay, only one more step. And that is to put our pocket clip back on, which is always an interesting thing because the pocket clip is by its very nature going to put pressure on your liner lock, of course. And that could affect the action, but I'm going to bet that in this case it doesn't. Because you know what? It looks like, it'll be hard to tell until it's screwed down, but it looks like the pocket clip actually is catching on the actual scale, which means that if you can see, it actually is not pressing just by a hair of an inch. It is touching the scale, but it's not touching the lock, the frame lock. So, okay, that's good news. Let's go ahead and pop this screw right back in here. And I'm going to reverse my ratchet, and we should tighten this down and I think be done. Pocket clip installed. Knife is still beautifully centered. Action. Yes. Blade play. no grindy sound, gone, action, loose, smooth. Love it. Much better. Better and perfect. If this was helpful at all, the only part I could possibly see being particularly helpful would be the fact that you need a 7/64 Allen wrench to take this DPX Gear Hest 3.0 Decade apart. I'm very happy. We're all done. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to follow us on civops_gear on the gram, and go ahead and join us on the book. We have a civops group. Just go ahead and search Civops Gear. Join our group, and we've got a bunch of like-minded ladies and gentlemen talking about knives and gear and less lethal and weapons and all kinds of cool stuff. So we'll see you on the book. We'll see you on the gram. Thank you very much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Share this video. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you found this helpful, or what you would like to do with your DPX Hest 3.0 Decade. Thanks very much, guys. See you on the next episode. Bye-bye now.